According to the professor,
はい、お
what's the
願いします。
significance of tobacco being grown in Jamestown? Number 16. Why does the professor discuss the archaeological digs that have taken place in Jamestown?
私、金飛車ですね。
Listen again to part of the talk, then answer the question. Next class, we will talk about the
あ、
settlement
居角
of
美
New
濃です
England.
ね。
As you prepare,
居角美
I
濃の
want
場合
you to
は
think about the similarities and differences between the two types of
居
colonies.
角美濃には、居角棒銀でいきましょ
Number 17. Why does the professor say this?
I want you to think about the similarities and differences between the two types of colonies.
う。こっちの方をつきたいんですが、
Passage 4. Listen to part of a lecture in a biology class.
なん
Algae.
か、同銀で取るっていう不思
Today
議
we
な
are
手
going to
筋
talk about
では
algae.
来ましたね。
First, you must remember that alga is the singular and algae the plural. Algae are aquatic organisms. They are plant species that may be uni or multicellular.
じゃあこっちも居角
And
美
they
濃でいき
contain
ましょうか。
chlorophyll, thrive in wet conditions, and usually lack roots, stems, and leaves. They can range in size from tiny single-cell organisms
右利き
to
権飛車。
huge giant kelp. The term algae applies to several groups of aquatic organisms, which are capable of photosynthesis or
ここに
manufacturing
銀に出ら
their
れ
own
ると
food. Algae are interesting because they can be colorful. Most people think of algae as green seaweed, but algae can not only be green, but can also be red, brown, or blue-green. The main focus of this lecture will be on the types of colored algae. Later lectures will be directed to other characteristics of algae. Brown algae are chromists. The name chromista means colored. Most chromists are colored, but some, such as mildew, may be colorless. They do not store their energy in the form of starch like other plants, and in
ああ、う
addition
まい
to
ですね。
containing
1097。
chlorophyll, they contain other pigments which give them a golden or brown color. Some chromists are not photosynthetic, and in the past
いや、
were
これめっちゃ
classed
強い
as
ですよ。
animals or fungi rather than as plants. However, today, it is recognized that all of the chromista may have developed from an independent evolutionary line from a common ancestor of plants, animals, and fungi. And thus, the new kingdom of chromista was born.
金が出て
Even
みたい
though
な感
there
じで
is
しょう
not
か。金が
complete
出るんでしょう
agreement
か、
on
狙い
how
は。
all of the chromists are interrelated, new research is being conducted which may explain the interrelationship between them. Green algae is very diverse. There are more than 7,000 species of green algae, and they grow in very diverse habitats. They contain two forms of chlorophyll, capture light energy, and
いや、隙がないで
manufacture
す
their own
ね。
food. They are also mainly aquatic, but don't share a common relationship with the chromists or the rhodophyta organisms. Some of you may have seen green growth attached to rocks in the
こっちの
ocean.
方はついていきましょ
This
う
may
か。
be sea lettuce. Both green kelp and lettuce are examples of green algae. Their sizes can be microscopic or giant, and they are very important in aquatic ecosystems. Kelp is a chromist, and in fact, coastlines of continents which are cool and temperate often have an abundance of kelp forests, which are important sources of food for marine and freshwater organisms. Chromists can occur in freshwater or saltwater. Some are planktonic and float near the water's surface, while others attach themselves to the bottom of the ocean and become so large
い
they
や
are
ー、これ、
referred to as
1097じゃないっ
forests.
すよ、絶
There
対。
are also many
超強いっす
fossils
よ、この人。
associated with this group because of the
本来、
ability
格
of
上
the
みたいな人かも
organisms
しれ
to
ません
secrete
ね。
calcium carbonate or lime deposits. Because of the algae's ability to secrete the carbonate, some of this group are thought to be responsible for some coal and petroleum deposits.
お
Red
ー、
algae are red because of a pigment which absorbs
いいです
blue
ね。
light and reflects red light. They live at deeper
これ
depths
無理です
than
よ。
most algae because of their photosynthetic pigments.
こう、格を来られま
Most
すよ。
red algae live in tropical marine environments
こう
rather
取られ
than in
て、
fresh water,
飛車が寄っ
but
て、
some do live in fresh water.
あ、
Red
これ、
algae are classified
か、
as
格を取られます
rhodophyta
ね。
and are important for different reasons. They are important in the formation of coral reefs because they secrete a shell of carbonate around themselves. Scientists aren't completely sure about how the organisms precipitate the calcium carbonate, but because they do and because fossils have resulted, it is believed that they may have an association with petroleum deposits. In some areas, the red algae, or coralline algae as they are referred to, have been known to contribute more to the composition of reef structure than coral does. In the South Pacific, giant clamshells have been found which contain a pink encrusting material on the outside of their shells. This material is an example of the calcium carbonate which has been deposited by red algae. Red algae can also be an important source of food. Nori is a red algae and is an important source of food for Asians. It has been cultivated in Japan for hundreds of years, but the industry started in the 1950s when a discovery was made about the different stages in the organism's lives. When it was discovered that one phase of the red algae's life cycle was considered an edible stage, cultivation of the organism for food began on a much larger scale. Nori has many benefits as a food source. First, it is easy to prepare. Second, it is high in vitamin content. And third, it is high in protein content. The last colored algae I want to talk to you about today is the blue-green algae. Blue-green algae are classified as cyanobacteria. They are aquatic bacteria and make their own food. They get their name from a pigment which captures light for the process of photosynthesis. They are considered bacteria and are quite small, usually microscopic. Although they are usually unicellular, they often grow into colonies which are large enough to be seen. They are some of the oldest known fossils in the world and are important providers of nitrogen fertilizer used in bean and rice cultivation. Cyanobacteria live in plants and form the chloroplast with which plants make food. Some of the cyanobacteria are good food sources because they are high in protein and can be cultivated easily in ponds. In the U.S., these organisms are considered health foods, but in the ancient Aztec culture of Mexico, they were a dietary staple. While some of these algae are considered nutritious, others, such as pond scum, are known to be toxic to both humans and animals. And some can cause problems to those who come in contact with them. If you have ever been swimming and later developed swimmer's itch, you have probably encountered some blue-green algae which has caused your skin irritation. On that note, we will conclude today's lecture. See you next class. Now get ready to answer the questions. You may use your notes to help you answer.
Number 18. What aspect of algae does the professor mainly discuss? Number 19. What does the professor say about brown algae?
これ同銀ですよね。同馬ですよ。
Number 20. What is the evidence that green algae is diverse in size?
Listen again to part of the lecture. Then
これは
answer
一
the
気で
question.
僕は良くなりましたね。
And some can cause problems to those who come in contact with them. If you have ever been swimming and later developed
今のは
swimmer's
ポカ
itch,
です
you
ね。
have
はい。
probably encountered some blue-green algae which has caused your skin irritation.
Number 21.
桂馬を跳
What
ね
does
て
the
もらいます
professor
ね。
imply when she says this?
You have probably encountered blue-green algae.
Number 22. Why does the professor mention blue-green
桂成
algae
が集めろ
are
なんで、
classified as
次は桂馬になりましょう。何も
cyanobacteria?
なければ。
Number 23. How does the professor explain the purpose of the lecture?
ありがとうございました。いや、今のは逆転勝ちですね。はい。なんか、こう、たまのひらめきは僕の方が上かもしれませんね。はい。
Listen to part of a discussion in an astronomy class. The professor is discussing stars. Constellations. Today I want to talk to you about constellations, what they are and what their history
あ、
is.
この桂馬
I
が
think
見
you
え
all
ま
know
せんでしたね。
that they are patterns of stars,
これ
but
がう
I
まかった。
also want you to understand that constellations are also areas of the sky and everything which is located within that area. Those boundaries were established
こ
in
の
the
手順が僕の
1920s
自慢の
by a
手です
committee
ね。
of
はい。
astronomers. Star charts will show constellations, and depending upon the time the
はい、
chart
じゃあご
is
視聴
made,
ありがとうございました。チャン
constellations
ネ
will
ル
be
登録を
shown
していただける
differently.
と最新のアップロード情報をお
What do
伝え
you
でき
mean by
ます。
that?
Well, charts made